Hello, we're back and we're talking about this new study that Microsoft put out called the Infinite Workday. It's a little ironic, maybe, that Microsoft's the author of this thing, but we'll jump into that in a minute. But the premise of this thing, let's start with JP, is that we're overwhelmed with too much information and we're being inundated with various messages all day, and we don't have enough time to answer them all. And who knows, maybe AI is making that better or worse. We'll see how that comes out in a minute, I'm sure. But JP, what's your take here?
So I don't know where everybody else has been. I've been living this for 15, 20 years now. Sometimes it feels like PTSD. And I think that there's a cultural aspect to this as well, where there's a certain shaming that one feels if they don't respond, right? Am I letting a team down? Are people going to think that I'm lazy? Are people not going to take me seriously as a professional if I'm not there when they need me? And how do you professionally shut people down without worrying about how you're perceived, right? So there's a lot behind this. It's cultural. Now the question is, how do all these new AI assistants play? How are they going to participate? And what's going to be acceptable to everyone else? We've seen a lot of people sending the meme, where people are sending their note takers to meetings instead of themselves. And it's just one person speaking in a room full of note takers. Is that the future? Is that the right way to go? Meetings a waste of time. And if I have something important to say, I'll glean it and then set up some time to discuss it further. But this is a reality that we face, and I do think that it needs to be attacked, from a cultural perspective, not just a technological perspective.
Agreed. I mean, look, to me, I wish I had it with me, but I don't have my phone with me. I can't believe it. But, the advent of the cell phone was the ultimate tether. It tethered us all. And we all thought we were so smart. What independence this gives us. We can communicate with whoever we want, whatever we want, whenever we want. But really, it tethered us to our jobs for most of us. Right? It tethered us to our jobs. We were in constant communication. Now, JP, like you, I've led this life also for 20, 25 plus years. In my case, I didn't think of it as work, right? My wife's watching a chick flick. No big deal. I'm going on Slack or whatever. I'll look at, I'm doing some work stuff. It's just what I do. But there was a crucial point during COVID when the work from home revolution really became mainstream. And I realized it because in talking to people didn't know there was an off button. There was an off button. And most people especially younger people, and I'm not, disparaging anyone, they have a hard time finding the off button. And everyone needs an off button, otherwise you get burned out. And
I thought about you this morning on my walk, Alan.
You thought about me?
Yeah, I think about Alan all the time.
Thank you.
Usually when I'm walking, the first thing I do is I pick a podcast or YouTube to listen to while I'm walking. And I read something this weekend, so I decided to try it, where just turn everything. It's your off time. Don't add anything. Just, do your walk, bike. So I was thinking, what do you do when you bike? Do you listen to stuff, or is that your escape time? Is that your off time?
I'm going to tell you. I'm glad you asked me. So there was a time where I used to listen to podcasts while I'm biking. I cut that out because it was taking away from my exercise, the endorphin stimulation. I listen to Apple Music Classic Rock Station. I will advertise it here. But I will tell you, my mind expands like I'm on microdosing or something while I'm bicycling, because I wind up spending a lot of time thinking about work stuff, but in a very non-structured, free-forming, creative way that works 100 times better than listening to some podcasts or checking my email or messages or Slacks or whatever. And so
there are podcasts in the world that don't have anything to do with technology, right? You get that, right?
I heard they have there's a whole nother aspect to this, and that is, yes, it's the devices. It's also the software. how much are we inundated by, it isn't just email anymore. Yeah, that's an ungodly beast we still haven't tamed, but we've added to that. Every app on our device wants to send us notifications, and it's binary, all of them or nothing. And you total that up, and even with new things like Apple's done with summarizing notifications, I just get more summaries than it's still way too much stuff, and I don't know what those summaries mean. This would be a great place for better product design and really understanding what are the notifications that matter to me. I don't really care about 99% of those. And what are the ways that I can fine tune those, or AI could fine tune that for me better. I think hopefully we can be smart about how we apply AI to this, but I don't want the software folks to get off for free on this. They're just as guilty as everybody owning 3 devices and watching all 3 screens and not talking to their family.
I think there's also the cultural aspect of it too that was mentioned earlier, that an email, it's okay, you can respond in due time, but when someone sends you a text, and it could be, a work colleague, you really do feel obligated. I better respond within due time because they can see you read it, and they know that you have your phone with you at all times. So there's that cultural pressure as well.
Absolutely.
Dan O'Brien, what's your take on how this is going to play out in the age of AI? Because I've already noticed that it's a lot easier for PR people or whoever to create a message. And so there's more crap being created than ever. But the ability of the people and the cognitive load of the people who receive that has not increased. So it feels like there's an imbalance in the system.
There is. Yeah. I mean, a few thoughts for you, Mike. I mean, as we talk about, I guess kind of the 9 to 5 becoming kind of the 5 to 9, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. We do still need to sleep. But, I think, my big thought here is, I think we all know this from leading teams, but, when you ask people to do more, you also need to ask that question, what are we going to stop doing? Right. And I think that's kind of the big challenge is we've added all of this, kind of extracurricular outside of kind of the, kind of set workday where we're proactively working, where we're doing a lot of reactive work kind of in the off hours. I think at some point you got to ask, what are we going to stop doing? And maybe that's, blowing up the construct of, I'm at my desk for 8 hours straight. We maybe need more flexibility, kind of during kind of that typical on time, to give people the balance that they want. But I really worry about the AI side of this, Mike. I mean, I feel like we're heading into a world where somebody uses AI to write a report, somebody uses AI to summarize that report, somebody uses AI to, synthesize the notes from the summary of that report, and nobody's actually writing it, nobody's actually reading anything anymore. We've just got our AI kind of flowing back and forth, and how do people actually consume information in a meaningful way where it sticks, it registers, it's got context, and we've actually got, kind of an agreement between the parties within these communications, what we're actually saying, what we're actually committing to.
I need that email with 5 bullet points and I'd be happy, right?
Well, maybe you don't use Slack. Just kidding, Mike. But
we've had that argument.
let me. I want to emphasize something though, and because I don't want us to overlook it. I want to make sure we hit on this. The Microsoft study called it a crisis engulfing modern employees, and that crisis is not that we're doing more work or that we are tethered like this. The crisis goes to burnout. Burnout is real. It's a recognized condition now by the World Health Organization. It's something my friend Gene Kim has explored a lot in the DevOps Enterprise summits and whatever he calls them now. I've interviewed several experts in it over the years. Burnout is real, and it's getting worse because I'm telling you, people don't know how to shut off. And Dan, I wish it was just 5 to 9. But I'll tell you the truth, I've been on with you past 9 o'clock at night. I've been on with you, Mitchell, Mike, past 9 o'clock at night. I know as a team leader, when stuff happens, I reach out, and I'm almost glad sometimes that people are on the West Coast because I pick up 3 hours, right? So it may be 11 or 12 my time, but it's still semi-okay to reach out to them. It's before 9. But, do we expect this as employers? Do we acquiesce to it as employees? And how do we recognize when we've crossed that line into burnout and it's it's detrimental to our health, and not only to our individual health, but to the functioning of our company.
And if I can jump in on this, some practical things that I've learned about this. Number one, I agree with all of what y'all are saying. It pains me as somebody who's worked from home and worked in an office to see people just sort of unequivocally saying working from home is better. Because better for who? Better for you, really? Are you sure it's better for you? If you can't proactively manage your time while working from home, you never leave work. I think that's the thing that really challenges some people. I think that whole commute and going into the office and being in a different place, I think that helps people organize their time. On the flip side, I think, as Dan was just saying, I think there's also a lot of value in those of us who've worked from home effectively to changing the nature of that 9 to 5 workday. And frankly, I feel like the biggest thing that we have to do to avoid this crisis, because I agree it is a crisis. I see it with people that we work with internally at Futurum. I see it with my customers, and I see it with my friends. We have to proactively manage this ourselves, each of us individually. Like, one of the easiest and most effective methods that I've been known to do is schedule things on my calendar for myself. I have, at the suggestion of my wife, an hour for lunch scheduled on my calendar every day. It's not like I don't know what time lunch is, but it helps to make sure that I've got some time to eat. And similarly, Dan asked me to work on a project. I scheduled blocks of time on my own calendar for myself to work on that project because I knew I needed to get it done. And I knew the only way to get it done was, to the Microsoft report, was to not have calls interrupting me every 30 minutes during that time that I'm trying to get something done. I need some time to focus. And those of us who've worked effectively from home realize as well that it's okay to schedule dog walking time. It's okay to schedule, time for a visit to the coffee shop or whatever. And it's okay to work into the night if that's what works for you. It just is a matter of being more proactive in owning and managing our own time and recognizing that if we don't have on time and off time, we will never have off time. So you have to have specific on time and specific off time, and you have to manage yourself as much as you're managing other people and your customers and coworkers.
So, Stephen, I like you, I've also set aside time. I have a 45-minute lunch break. But what I find, as soon as something comes up that I feel like I have to do or should be done, that is the first time that I sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Totally.
So there's a little discipline, I think, that has to go with that.
Yeah, I'm not an expert at it, but I do think that it comes to, you have to manage yourself and you have to reflect on this. And I'll just say out there, if some of you who are finding challenges of this, maybe it would benefit you to go to a co-working space or something like that, because then you feel like you're kind of have on time and off time. At the very least, you have to have a home office with a door that you can close, and not try to do this while your life is revolving around you. You have to have space.
Hey, I would just remind you of an old joke that says, when you're married and you have a full-time job and a couple of kids, what's the definition of quality time? It's the drive to and from work.
There was a time, I used to take the Long Island Railroad into New York, right? And you'd actually read a newspaper. Yeah, you remember those days, JP. Dan, you work from home. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard the term work-life balance, right? And I feel like it's probably not the right mental framework for that, because it really kind of puts the two at odds, where one is a trade-off versus the other. I've heard the phrase before called work-life harmony, and I think that's kind of what we're describing here. Is that it's a proactive stance. You've got to really take a personal responsibility on it yourself to draw those boundaries, right? I mean, me personally, I carry 2 phones. When I'm getting good quality family time, I can leave my business phone in the drawer, right? And I know I've got no interruptions. I tend to do my work, kind of only from my home office here, and don't let that bleed into the rest of the house. I prioritize sleep. I've got, kind of some limits as far as how late I'll go, and, back at it when I wake up in the morning. So Those are at least some of the things that work for me. But to me, it's much more about that kind of work-life harmony, drawing some kind of clear boundaries, and kind of that set of personal responsibility to make sure that you're taking care of your own wellness and mental health, and making sure you're getting everything done on the job as well.
Agreed. I'm going to give you the last word on that one. Hey, I think it's time we get a little work-life harmony, because we've already done enough of our TechStrong gang today. We're over time. What a great discussion panel today. Thank you all. Stephen, JP, Mitch, Mike, Bonnie, thank you. Dan, now you've done this once. We're expecting you on regularly, right?
All right. I'll be happy to be a recurring guest.
All
Thanks,
righty.
Alan.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Again, hey, we've got a full day of TechStrong. Well, not a full day, but we've got another 3-4 hours of TechStrong TV coming at you immediately following the gang. You can watch this as well on demand on TechStrong TV or our TechStrong TV YouTube channel or the OTT channel as well. Just search TechStrong TV. I think we've deconstructed the gang too, where you could actually just watch individual segments of the gang, not all three. So you've got no excuse. But until tomorrow, everyone, thanks for joining us. On behalf of our gang, have a great day. We're out of here.